At 3 a.m., the soft sound of my purse zipper opening woke me up. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep, assuming my husband was just grabbing my car keys. But when I opened my eyes slightly, I saw his sister, Chloe, sliding my black metal credit card into her jacket pocket. By morning, $9,000 was gone. When I confronted her, she laughed and said, "You're rich, Sarah. Consider it a family tax." What Chloe didn't realize was that the card she stole didn't belong to a personal checking account. It was a restricted corporate expense account tied to a federal government contractor, and using it fraudulently wasn't just theft. It was a federal offense. Before you hear how I turned her greedy midnight robbery into her worst nightmare, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with the city you're watching from so I can see how far our community reaches. My name is Sarah. I'm a 31-year-old mid-level finance auditor living in Seattle. For the past 6 years, I've built a life grounded in precision, structure, and hard work. My job requires me to analyze complex budgets and ensure every single cent is accounted for under strict federal regulations. It's a job that demands extreme responsibility, but outside of work, I was always the quiet, accommodating partner. 2 months ago, my husband, Mark, convinced me to let his younger sister, Chloe, move into our guest room. He swore it was temporary, just a few weeks until she got back on her feet after a streak of bad luck. But bad luck, as I quickly realized, was just Chloe's code name for utter irresponsibility. From day one, she treated our home like a boutique hotel, complete with maid service and an open tab. She made passive-aggressive comments about my career, my clothes, and our modest lifestyle, all while helping herself to my expensive beauty products and gourmet groceries. I tolerated it to keep the peace, but that patience shattered on a rainy Tuesday night. I awoke to the faint, scratchy pull of metal teeth sliding across fabric. At 3 a.m., the room was shrouded in shadow, save for the dull glow of streetlights filtering through the blinds. I froze, holding my breath, assuming Mark was looking for his wallet. But as the silhouette shifted, I caught the profile of long blonde hair and a sharp chin. It was Chloe. She was hovering over my nightstand, gently extracting my black metal card from my purse. I watched through narrowed eyes as she tucked it into her silk robe pocket, zipped the purse back up with practiced quietness, and slipped out of the bedroom. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced myself to stay still. I wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe she needed emergency medicine or fuel. But deep down, I knew better. By 7 a.m., my phone began buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. Notifications flooded my screen from the card issuer. $2,400 at a high-end designer boutique downtown, $3,100 at an electronics retail chain, $1,800 at a luxury spa, and several smaller charges totaling exactly $9,000. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down at the kitchen island, placing my phone in the center of the quartz countertop. Minutes later, Chloe bounced into the kitchen, wearing a brand new designer sweater and holding a shiny gift bag containing an expensive leather handbag. She didn't look tired at all. She looked triumphant. I tapped the phone screen, displaying the list of transactions. I looked her in the eyes and asked calmly, "Chloe, do you want to explain why there's $9,000 missing from my account since 3 o'clock this morning?" She didn't even flinch. Instead, she let out a dismissive laugh, poured herself some of my coffee, and leaned against the counter. "Oh, calm down, Sarah," she sneered, running a manicured hand down the sleeve of her new sweater. "You and Mark make plenty of money. You sit in that home office all day looking at spreadsheets while I'm actually trying to get my life together. Consider it a family tax. Besides, you can afford it." Just then, Mark walked into the kitchen, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. I turned to him, expecting outrage, expecting him to defend me and demand his sister return what she took. But as I showed him the charges, his face paled not with anger at Chloe, but with panic at the conflict. He pulled me into the hallway, away from his sister, and lowered his voice. "Sarah, please don't make a scene," he whispered, his tone pleading and weak. "She had a rough year. We can just pay it off slowly over time. Can't you just treat it like an early birthday gift for her? If you press charges or call the bank, It'll ruin her credit and her reputation. Looking at Mark in that dim hallway, a cold, sobering realization settled over me. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't horrified. He was complicit in her entitlement. For 6 years, I had built a home with a man who viewed my hard-earned stability as a resource for his family to exploit. Neither of them respected me. They thought I was soft. They thought I was harmless. But in their arrogance, they had overlooked one massive, catastrophic detail. The card Chloe stole wasn't a personal credit card. It wasn't linked to a joint checking account, and it wasn't backed by our personal savings. It was an ultra-restricted corporate procurement card issued directly to me by my employer, a primary contractor for federal infrastructure projects. Because I handle high-level budget audits, the card carried an internal security clearance. Every single purchase made on that account was automatically flagged and reviewed by corporate compliance officers within 24 hours. Misuse of those funds didn't just mean a high interest rate or a ding on a credit score. It constituted corporate embezzlement and federal fraud. I gave Chloe one final opportunity to undo the damage. I walked back into the kitchen, looked her straight in the eye, and said, "Chloe, listen to me carefully. Pack up everything you bought today. Take the bags, the receipts, and the tags back to those stores right now and process full refunds. If that money is not restored to the account by the end of the day, I will be forced to take steps that you cannot undo." Chloe threw her head back and laughed, waving her hand dismissively as if I were a nagging child. "You won't do anything, Sarah," she smirked, grabbing her fresh shopping bags and turning toward her bedroom. "Mark won't let you. Stop being so dramatic." She walked into the guest room and slammed the door shut, locking it from the inside.
I didn't yell.
I didn't knock on her door. I picked up my coffee, walked into my private home office, and locked my door behind me. If they wanted to play games with financial power, they were playing against a professional. I dialed the direct extension for my company's senior corporate counsel and chief compliance officer. When the legal team answered, I clearly and concisely explained the situation. An unauthorized third party had surreptitiously taken a high-clearance corporate card from my home and executed multiple unauthorized high-value retail transactions. Because the card was used at local physical stores in downtown Seattle, I didn't just sit back. I spent the next 2 hours coordinating with corporate security. My company acted with terrifying speed. Within 3 hours, corporate risk investigators contacted the loss prevention departments of the boutique, the electronics chain, and the spa. Because the transactions exceeded $5,000, the stores immediately pulled their high-definition security footage from the checkout counters. The video clips were crystal clear. They showed Chloe standing at the registers, holding my metal corporate card, casually signing my name on the electronic pads, and handing over a fake form of identification. The paper trail was airtight. Corporate legal confirmed what I already knew. Chloe had committed felony identity theft, access device fraud, and grand larceny involving corporate government funds. They informed me that unless a formal police report was filed immediately, I could be viewed as an accomplice, which would mean the immediate termination of my career and potential legal liability for myself. The choice wasn't just clear, it was mandatory. I authorized corporate legal to submit the full evidence package directly to the Seattle Police Department. That evening, oblivious to the storm gathering above her head, Chloe decided to host an impromptu celebration dinner at our house. She invited 2 of her local friends over, boasting about her new clothes and displaying the brand new top-of-the-line laptop she had purchased with my corporate card. The dining room table was littered with open shopping bags, high-end wine, and takeout boxes from an expensive steakhouse, all bought with stolen funds. Mark pulled me into the kitchen, looking flushed and nervous. He slid a piece of paper across the counter toward me. It was a handwritten note stating that I had verbally authorized Chloe to use my card for household expenses and that I accepted full responsibility for the balance. "Just sign this, Sarah," Mark pleaded, his voice trembling. "I'll take out a personal loan to cover the $9,000 over time. Just sign it so Chloe doesn't get into trouble if the bank calls." I looked at the piece of paper, then looked up at my husband. The desperation in his eyes wasn't for me, or for our marriage. It was to protect his sister from the consequences of her own malice. "I'm not signing that, Mark," I said calmly. "Why are you being so heartless? he shouted, losing his temper. She's family. You're letting your pride ruin this family. Without saying another word, I picked up a thick manila folder from my desk, walked into the dining room, and dropped it right into the middle of Chloe's dinner setup, knocking over an empty wine glass. The room fell completely silent. Chloe looked up, annoyed. "What is your problem, Sarah?" "Page 1, I said, my voice steady and resonant, echoing off the dining room walls. "Is the formal crime report filed with the Seattle Police Department for grand larceny and identity theft. Page 3 is the corporate fraud affidavit from my employer's legal counsel. And pages 5 through 8 are the high-definition security camera screenshots of you signing my name at 3 different stores downtown." Chloe's smug smile instantly vanished. Her friends stopped chewing, looking between the legal documents and Chloe in horror. What is this?" Chloe stammered, her voice suddenly losing all its confidence. "This is reality, Chloe," I replied. "You stole a corporate card linked to a federal contractor. You thought you were stealing from me, but you were stealing from a corporate compliance division. And they don't negotiate." Before Mark could even open his mouth to scream at me, heavy knocks echoed from the front door. Mark ran to open it, hoping it was a neighbor. Instead, 2 uniformed Seattle police officers stood on the porch alongside a representative from my company's corporate security division. The officer stepped into the entryway and called out Chloe's full legal name. The next 20 minutes played out like a slow-motion breakdown of an entitled life. Chloe began to wail, scrambling to pull her shopping bags under the table, screaming that it was all a misunderstanding, a family feud, a joke. But the police officers didn't care about family dynamics. They read her rights right there in our dining room as they placed her in handcuffs. The corporate security representative methodically cataloged every single item purchased with the card: the laptop, the sweater, the handbag, the spa gift certificates, placing them into evidence bags to be repossessed. Mark was beside himself, chasing the officers out to the driveway, yelling that he was going to hire a lawyer, begging them to stop. Chloe was crying hysterically from the back seat of the patrol car as it pulled away into the rainy night. When Mark finally walked back inside, the house was silent. Chloe's friends had slipped away in the chaos. He slammed the front door, his face contorted in rage. "You destroyed my sister," he screamed, kicking a chair. "You put her in jail over money. How could you be so cold, so selfish? We are married, Sarah. You were supposed to support my family." I stood by the kitchen island, perfectly calm, holding a second folder that I had prepared hours earlier. I slid it across the quartz counter toward him. "What's this?" he spat, refusing to touch it. "Those are divorce papers," I said, my voice quiet but unshakable. "And a notice for you to vacate this house within 30 days. The house was purchased under my name prior to our marriage with my inheritance. You wanted me to support your family at the expense of my career, my reputation, and my legal safety. You chose Chloe's theft over my dignity." He stared at the paperwork, the color completely draining from his face as the gravity of his choices finally crushed him. He had lost his free ride, his comfortable lifestyle, and the wife he had taken for granted. Over the next 6 months, the dust settled into a stark new reality. Chloe faced formal legal proceedings. Because of the clear security footage and the corporate nature of the funds, her defense collapsed instantly. To avoid state prison time, she was forced to take a felony plea deal that included 3 years of supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, and court-ordered restitution to pay back every single cent of the legal and processing fees incurred by the corporation. Her pristine reputation was gone, replaced by a permanent record that followed her everywhere. Mark tried for weeks to send apologetic text messages, begging for reconciliation, claiming he was just caught in the middle. But I held my ground. The divorce was finalized smoothly, leaving me with my home, my career, and my independence fully intact. Today, my life is quiet, peaceful, and entirely mine. The guest room that once housed Chloe's entitlement has been turned into a vibrant painting studio. Looking back, that 3 a.m. theft wasn't a tragedy. It was the wake-up call I desperately needed. It taught me that setting boundaries isn't being cruel. It's protecting your peace from people who think they have a right to consume you. If you were in my shoes, would you have given your family member another chance? Or would you have called the police right away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe to the channel for more stories every single day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.